Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
everyone needs a bit of pocket bacon.
Pocket bacon. No one will know pocket bacon.
Yeah, that's not even from a streamed game. No one's gonna know that.
Mm-hmm. It's just like,
Yeah.
we come in and we're talking about pocket bacon and confuse the crap out of everybody.
Hi,
Everyone.
You won't get context for that until later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until later in the show we talk about it, because it was in our week of tabletop, which is not the topic for right now.
No.
That's for later.
Hi, everybody. It's Discussing Tabletop, September 11th, 2021.
I have to go to mod view.
We have an interesting docket of things to talk about. I'm joined, of course, by Momo and Lightning today.
Posted a Kermit in chat.
Oh, hell yeah.
Excellent.
I'll do something.
That's right. I was going to do something here. Figure out how to do it
There you
again.
Have that.
Oh shit. We emote this thing.
Not
It's
like
not
this.
like this. I have a dreidel that I have for some reason.
I don't have a lot of subscriber things anymore.
These
Want
are
a dog?
I don't know where this dreidel thing came from. This might have been from like a hype train from years ago, because I just leave streams open when I'm not on my computer.
That's probably a thing you shouldn't do. I have a lot of those too.
Mm-hmm.
Like this. This one's great too. None of the people that are watching like the VOD or whatever will have any context of what we're doing. 'Cause we're
No.
posting
no.
emotes in chat while Tantus gets
You
ready.
should be here on Twitch
While
live.
I give dark powers to Momo.
Oh, it's been
Dark
granted power.
powers. Oh, now you too can have the power.
Mm-hmm. I probably have some weird emotes in here. Honestly, I've gotten random gift subscriptions. Like you show up.
I
Postcard?
just get weird gifts. It's strange.
Here. Well, anyway, we'll start talking while I throw weird emotes.
This is fine.
Starfinder. We're gonna talk about that. Here you go.
I like that game.
Have a goose.
Hey,
Oh,
peace.
hell yeah.
Peace was never an option.
So, Starfinder, we knew the Evolutionist playtest was coming out, but they have now announced more stuff on it. Oh, no. The playtest had just begun. They're basically like being like, hey, if you haven't noticed it, test it out. It's their new class. I think we talked a little bit about it when we...
Yeah, because it had the space squid.
Yeah, it had the space squid.
Oh, I gotta ban somebody.
Old space squid. I should open mod too, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
There has been an update, is the thing too, because of the feedback and stuff. Like the Evolutionist lose all EP at the end of combat.
Okay, that's a good way to balance it.
Yeah,
I've actually not looked at the class yet, despite it being available for a while.
briefly.
Link it in the doobly-doo.
I look at Archives of Nethys for it.
I can link this one here. The actual announcement about the thing, and I think it has a link to the playtest in here. Boop.
Ah. It has a cat man.
Catman.
With like a organic
Fun
blaster
arm?
arm, I guess.
Yeah, that's a
Weird.
thing.
Very strange. I'm gonna look at the playtest. Let's, because I like the idea of this class. From what the little text blurb sounded. Oh, I gotta download something? Fine.
Oh no! Mine will preview, so I don't have to download it. Take that.
I still
What
want to try
class is
Starfinder.
this?
This is Evolutionist.
Okay, I saw that, but my brain didn't comprehend that was the name of the class.
It looked interesting when they announced it. I would like to maybe play it when it's play tested.
Yeah. There's plenty of stuff I do like how Pathfinder, Paizo has been taking things a little bit. How they're going on the route rather than something like an Unarked Arcana, which is very experimental, may not show up. They're like, hey, this is what we're working on. Why don't you play test it a lot? Give us feedback, and then it's going to be the big thing coming out next, something kind of thing. Like,
I kind of prefer it like
Yeah.
that way compared to Unearthed Arcana, because I was actually looking at like all these. I was looking at spells for 5e the other day. There's so many just weird shit that can't function in 5e that were Unearthed Arcana spells, like on off. You could turn something that has an electrical system on or off. It's a fantasy game. It doesn't typically have like magic technology.
Mm-hmm. I think there's ways they go about things for Unearthed Arcana which sometimes work. I think it's the idea that Unearthed Arcana is still good. I still like it because it's like, here are some stuff we're working on, or some ideas we have. What do people think about it? Which is good, because it, like, there have been some good things that have come out of Unearthed Arcana that have ended up in books. Other things that have not.
I hope I hope the new Dragonborn ends up in a book.
Yeah, well, there's the
Otherwise-
Dragon book coming out soon.
There is
I
the
think.
Dragon book coming out soon.
Hopefully it gets put in there.
Fizbin's Dragons or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what the book's called.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna have gem dragons.
Yeah, they are reading gem dragons. Those are also in the UA, I think. the
The
Dragonborn were.
Dragonborn versions are, yeah. I would hope that they'd have the full-blown gem dragons, which will probably be horribly broken because
Yeah, because
psionics.
they've got crazy damage types.
Yeah. Like Radiant Breath. You
Mm.
die.
Cool, Radiant Breath. You
You
melt
also
the
get
bottle.
blinded too. It's like it's
Yeah,
a
you do.
blinding breath attack. And it's like I got radiant damage, I guess.
What is
'Cause it-
radiant damage? It's just light, right? Or like
Uh,
it's like radiation.
Kind of. It's Godzilla's breath attack.
It's just atomic breath.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way Paizo does it, I feel like is a little better because they're like, hey, this is what we're going to be putting out soon in like an upcoming book or something like that. Play around with it for a little bit, let us know, because we can tweak it.
Yeah, like this is a decently balanced looking class. You don't have to put in the extra work as like a DM to be like, hey, you put out something horribly broken. I have to kind of fix it so because a player wants to use it.
Yeah.
I think it also holds true to what kind of company Paizo is in comparison to Wizards. Paizo's a big company, but it makes me think back to, would 5th edition have a playtest for, or D&D, Wizards, have a playtest for, let's say, if they ever do it, 6th edition?
Oh god, I don't think they would.
While
They do that with 5e though?
uh,
I don't know if they had a playtest for 5e.
I
they
thought
might,
they had an internal one.
I think they had an internal one. They did. But, like, Paizo, for those of you who don't remember, I do, had a full playtest for 2nd edition.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was part of the book. Granted, like, a lot of stuff changed in between the final release and stuff because they playtested it. So it's like you have the basics idea of it, but you're being granted, like, yeah, here's most of our book, as it is right now. Go ahead and play with it. And then, granted, I'm sure there are people that probably play without purchasing anything from Paizo. I, like to give some support, even though I can't do all as much as I can usually.
Also, like, for the most part, if you compare Wizards to Paizo, most of Pathfinder's just like available for free, and Paizo is like fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they do a lot more work too. Honestly speaking, is it all as high quality sometimes? But the thing is,
Yeah.
you argue sometimes like, well, high quality from Wizards, but then I'm like, well, yes and no.
Played quite a few of what.
Oh,
I'll look
modules.
at Adventure Paths. I've played a few Pathfinder ones. I've played a few 5e ones. I prefer the Pathfinder ones because a lot of the 5e modules are kind of bad and a bit
I think-
lazy.
I think part of the problem with some of the 5e modules is they're like, we wrote an adventure starting at 5th level. Oh, but what if people want to start at level 1? Oh, crap! And then so the first part of the book is to
Yeah.
level you up for the adventure when it
It's
shouldn't.
like it's the pointless side quest part.
Yeah,
Like all of them
that's-
have it.
Yeah.
I mean, Curse of Strahd has it. It's Death House.
Yep.
The pointless side quest, which has nothing to do with Curse of Strahd.
Yeah. What is it?
Well-
Storm Giant's Thunder has it as well, though it is slightly tied in with the story at least, but it still feels like this go, 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 do all these things, and now here's the plot happens.
I mean, I think that
Okay.
is a better thing for, in a way, how Paizo writes it. Because Paizo at least is like, yeah, we're writing... Granted, like, there are always issues with Pathfinder Adventure Pass, which I think they've been getting better at. You know, the connectivity of their adventures.
Yes. Well, I've only played one, and the connectivity of that one is subject at best.
Yeah. You really gotta kind of push you gotta push to connect some of those bits.
Yeah.
I feel like it varies on the Adventure Path, too. Because, like, I think Rise of the Rune Lords did it pretty good, and that's their first one, technically.
Yeah, Rise of the Rune Lord's like pretty fun because it's just a standard fantasy game.
Yeah. But, like, I think when they tried to experiment with other things, then it became more difficult to be like, we'll connect these things together. Like, I feel like the pirate one, the Skulls and Shackles, which we'll be doing a version of, is pretty logical, because they're like, when they break in between it, it's sort of like, okay, you've reached this milestone in your ability to be like a pirate. Here's next. Oh, now you have to, like, you know, find a base of operations. Build a base of operations. Deal with that guy who caused all this to start with, coming back for revenge. Oh,
Can
no.
I build an underwater base in a volcano?
I mean, if you have enough
Only-
money and magical
Only
power.
if you ask for 1 million gold.
No, I need more than that.
I
I
need-
need a large loan, not a small loan.
You need 1 billion gold pieces.
Yeah. I mean, so I can't really speak for the Paizo ones, but I have at least read or heard about a lot of the Wizards ones, and like some of them are like totally fine,
Oh,
and
yeah,
other
there's
ones are just
There's some pretty good like modules for 5e. The Canlucky book is technically full of small modules. Those are what one-shots technically are. And all of those are really fucking good, I will say.
run more games than Momo.
Look, I have a job. I
Yeah,
have like
do you,
a
though?
job where I get... Well, not currently, because I might have COVID.
I think the thing about it is, and like when we moved on to this topic because of the play tests and comparing the two, I think both companies play things very differently. And unfortunately, I feel like Wizard's strategy both works and doesn't work in comparison to Paizo, and it's weird because Wizard puts out very few books, but I guess they sell a lot.
Yeah,
Paizo vomits content a lot of times.
Paizo does, yeah.
They do a lot of smaller content though, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, here's a class. When was the last time freaking Wizards of the Coast released a class? Artificer?
Yeah,
They've released.
that's the last... I think that's the only class that has been added to
Yes,
this edition.
it is. It is the only class. It's not even have they
And-
add. Oh no, they have added subclasses because Tosh does.
They consistently add subclasses.
Yeah, but it's just like the only brand new class is Artificer.
Because Artificer showed up in the Eberron book, which most people didn't need, because it's a setting, and then
Yeah.
they put it in Tasha's, which most people did. Most people who buy the books obviously wanted, because there's some pretty good stuff in Tasha's. There's also some really broken stuff in Tasha's.
Yup.
I think the issue with like, and I think there's a step away that both works and doesn't work sometimes, and that's the thing I have to say is like, as much as they were not always helpful, and certainly when you look at first edition Pathfinder, they were difficult. Prestige classes, I honestly liked the idea that there was, like, something that you had to qualify for that was... You could improve the way they work or make them good on their own in such a way that people want to take them. And I know the idea behind the archetypes of every class in 5th edition is sort of like, well, it's taking those up. But they do them so, like, poorly. They're just... You're sort of that, also.
I think Rogue is the worst example.
Yeah. Something I have noticed when I compare Pathfinder and 5th edition, and this is a little off topic, but not really. In Pathfinder, you can play two rangers and they can end up very different from each other. In 5e, you can play two rangers, two different subclasses. At the core of it, they're still the same character. They're still the same mechanics, basically, because you can't really swap mechanics out like you can in 1st edition Pathfinder.
I think there are, like as Sel said in our Twitch chat here, there are some that are exceptions to this. There always are going to be. Yeah. Like, certainly something like an Eldritch Knight still feels very different. You got spells.
Yeah.
But Cavalier, Samurai, Weapon Master, all those other ones...
They're still hit thing with big stick.
Yeah, there's not much extra to them. Like,
Which is a shame.
I'm playing the Cavalier just because it ended up that way, and none of them sounded like they would fit better for the character I'm doing. I'm not on a creature most of the time. That doesn't come up a lot, and the marking...
You don't even need to be.
No, you really don't. I think it's like one ability.
And the marking ability, which I have now, it's fine. It's not really... You have to hit something with it, with a melee attack to mark it. That's why it's kind of bad. Because if you don't hit them, you're not marking them and having them like, oh, you have to hit me or you get disadvantage. And if you do attack someone else, I get a bonus attack twice a day.
There's a thing, I think it's part of one of the shield fighters, because I guess there's like 2 versions of shield fighter now. And it's basically like, as a reaction, you just can impose disadvantage on someone. So he's like, I'm going to attack your friend. Like, you have disadvantage because you didn't attack me. Which is... It uses the reaction, but, like, is using it in probably a better way than, like, oh, if you hit.
I think the best example of classes or subclasses that kind of change the core class mechanic might be Bard, because there are several that change the use of your Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah. It's why I brought up Rogue. I feel like Rogue changes the least, because... You're still a rogue at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Your subclass just gives you more abilities. You never stop being a rogue.
Which, honestly, that's the weird thing that, like, if I compare it to Pathfinder. Without an archetype, a lot of times, as a 1st edition rogue, I can do a lot of that stuff. Because they have their options of rogue talents. You could go down the magical rogue talent paths. Are you going to be as good as an arcane trickster? Probably not. You're going to have a selection of good spells. But Arcane Trickster, you don't really get a lot of options anyway.
Yeah. When they announced the optional class features in the UA for Tasha's, I had hoped it would be more like there would be more options than like 2 of them, so you could like take one ability, you don't want that, you can add this ability. Because Pathfinder lets you do that with the archetypes. I like that. I think that makes the classes way more different from each other. But they want 5e to be simple, which I think is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's not bad to be simple. It's more open. It's an easy system. It's the system that if I wanted to introduce someone to role-playing systems, certainly, and it's also the, like, if I want to play quickly, I probably would want to pick up 5e, like,
Yeah, introducing someone to Pathfinder 1st edition, and they see, like, just the number of skills.
Oh, God.
Many options.
I mean, it's what we did back in the day, but I feel like,
it's what we used to have.
I feel like that's why things weren't as popular as they are now.
It was a bit complicated.
There are people that would have gone through that and been like, oh, hey, I could do this, and then there's some that are just like, well,
That's a lot of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, many numbers.
But yeah, like I feel like, you know, 5th edition is certainly like if I'm like a group of friends who are like, hey, let's do like a one shot or somebody. I've got an idea for one, and you know, you want to get a character done in like 10 minutes, probably could, and set up a game very quickly. Honestly. But yeah, back to the original kind of topic of everything. The Evolutionist playtest is now, it goes till September 24th if you want to check it out. This is for Starfinder, of course. A system that certainly I've been tempted to like maybe do like a short adventure. I think I should at some point in time, especially now that I've got a little bit more time just to organize things. Now that 2 games are done finally.
I'm pretty sure I still have a character concept for a Starfinder game.
I was just gonna play Star Fox.
I mean, I might have done that as well, but there's also Star Dragon.
The fuck his name is called.
So...
I can play the bird Falco. Is that the bird?
Falco.
Play him. I could play whoever the frog is called, Slippy.
Slippy.
There's a frog race in Starfinder, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's right, but they're not Gripplies.
No, believe it or not. Actually, it should be unfortunately not. That's the comment it should be.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah, rather than believe it or not. Unfortunately not. Anyway.
You can believe it.
You can believe it.
So yeah, new class. Starfinder's a pretty good looking system. It's a weird mixture of 1st edition Pathfinder and 2nd edition Pathfinder. There's one thing that I will always complain about, because I don't think it's a good idea, and they do it a lot better in 2nd edition Pathfinder, and that's when you're level 1 and you're getting your stats. The way Starfinder does it is not super good, because
probably why they don't do it like that in 2nd edition, because Starfinder is kind of that weird middle child.
Yeah, it is.
They were experimenting, figuring out stuff, you know, evolving what their systems could be.
I would hazard a guess to say if we ever get a Starfinder 2E, they will just use the Pathfinder 2nd edition character creation.
Probably.
It is very good.
Yeah.
So, we got a few other topics. We got some board games to talk about, and technically some RPGs to talk about at some point in time here. Let's talk about some things from Portal Games, because they got 2 things out here. They've got pre-orders for a Dune board game. A cooperative.
Do you make the spice flow?
I don't know. It's a cooperative, story-driven game in Dune, and it kind of makes. They have a picture that looks like the movie that's coming out
this is
now.
definitely a movie tie-in.
It is.
Considering it has the Legendary Studios logo on it.
Ooh.
Oh, it does. I missed that.
Yeah, right up in the corner.
Look at that.
Right next to the UK flag.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that movie looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different Dune board game, I'm pretty sure, because I think I've played a Dune board game before.
Oh, I'm sure. And I'm sure we're going to see a bunch of stuff theoretically in the next while with the release of the movie, for those that can tie into it and those that can tie in right after it and stuff like that. And then, of course, like 2 years from now, we'll also see another like one that seems based on the movie, and we're like, wait a second, why is this like so far off? And then we like look it up, and it's like either like an anniversary of some kind of something or other, or it's like the DVD like super edition came out or something.
Yeah,
Ultra edition.
This is the one I played. You're not gonna have context for this, chap. I'm gonna post the one I played. It's complicated.
Oh no.
It's a lot of complicated things in that one.
Oh, is it like the Battlestar Galactica board game?
No.
Oh.
Hard to describe. It would be easier to play something like Twilight Imperium. In my opinion, which is another complicated board game.
Yeah, I've heard that is really crazy.
Yeah.
So
it's also based upon the award-winning Detective, a modern crime board game.
So like,
That's what it says.
Well, I was gonna finish a little bit on Dune.
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea that it's like it looks like an interesting thing, and it looks like you could probably play through it more than once, because it's like your resistance against House Harkonnen. It's done in a series of chapters where there's encounters with specific goals. There's a limited time for each encounter, and it's impossible to get everyone. So then you have to kind of like get it. There's a status report in between chapters, and that kind of influences the direction of the story. So like, it's interesting that like you could maybe there is replayability to it as a story-driven thing because
I'll be honest, I would buy this board game just for that map of Tell guys here. I'm a fucking Dune nerd.
You are a nerd.
Yeah, I'm a nerd. It's a
Well,
good map.
my Twitch chat has died on me apparently.
Oh damn!
I don't know.
Totally fine here.
I don't know.
Posted a donut in chat. There you go.
The donut showed up. And then hi.
The donut fixed
But
it.
didn't you have a link somewhere, or is that in?
You posted a link.
You posted a
I
link.
posted. I don't know if I can post anymore. Okay, it's working sort of again. Well, we'll
Great.
play it by ear if this works. Twitch chat is a little
We don't
worky
need
for
chat.
me.
I can post links.
It's like slow. It's slow for me.
Okay, so looking at the key points, right? Develop your character using experience points to gather from gameplay. So this is, I'm assuming, something you're meant to play over the course of weeks. It's not like a one and done kind of thing.
Oh yeah. It does
It's
sound like that.
experience points.
Well, it said it was like 40 to 141 minutes or something. It's
That is
like
a long time for a board game.
it's like an hour to 2 hour game or something.
And your
Oh no, worse than that. 90 to 180 minutes, they say.
yeah, and your first playtime of this game is going to be more than that as you try to figure the rules out.
So an hour and a half to 3 hours, and that might be for one chapter. Is the thing.
Yeah,
No, it's probably for the whole thing.
depending.
Well, we'd
and
have to
look-
see the game to know exactly that one there.
I mean, if it's an hour per chapter, that's not that bad.
It's got character backstories.
My backstory is a fox, and I consume the flesh of the dead.
You're a fox that ate too much spice, and you gain sentience.
Yeah.
That actually could be like.
I am the spice fox, and I have developed space travel. You can call me Star Fox.
Damn, I got my Starfinder character now.
Oh no! Oh no! A drug-addicted space fox.
I take so many drugs I get space travel.
Anyway, here. Well, okay, so boop. Hopefully that'll show up
Ooh.
in chat in a minute.
Maybe
Let's talk
one day.
about a expansion to
There
the
it is.
detective board game. Now, the thing is, I remember talking about the detective board game with Joe a long time ago.
I think I've heard of it.
Yeah.
There's pet badges.
There's also like claws on
this-
the drinks.
It's a cop animal expansion.
Well, it's
Cop
petty
animals.
officers, so I think it's like minor crimes. So it's like there's been
Texas German Shepherd, Betty the Beagle,
Ola the parrot.
and an albino ferret named Snowflake.
Hell yeah!
God, you're the rescue ranger.
Miss Cleo as a cat.
Wow.
I approve of everything. So it's a pun. Instead of being petty officers, like a rank,
I
it's
get it.
pet-y officers.
Now
As you're
now-
playing pets.
Now I hate it.
Yes. I thought it was petty officer, like the military rank, and then it's like, oh no, you're animals.
Can't wait
It's
to play
it's
as
actually an
Snowflake.
expansion to the game, so I think you need the original one.
You do. I think you do need the original because it's an expansion.
Sometimes everyone needs a break, even special agents. They come home from desperation in need of a hug, especially if it's a hug from someone hairy with a damp nose and a wagging tail. But hugs aren't their only specialty. They can also solve criminal investigations.
Can't wait for like the dog character to die and then it just becomes a John Wick game.
Oh no.
Betty gets like taken out,
No, Betty.
No,
And then-
no.
and then her owner just becomes John Wick.
Ola's just like, those bastards. We'll get revenge. We'll get revenge. Take him down! God.
Oh boy.
I like how they have each, like, Cleo's the mouser, there's the military working dog, the centaur, the mimic, and the thief. Really, one of them has an ability that's not like the others. The mouser, like, like, Texas, the military working dog. Yeah, you're German Shepherd, you can monster. The beagle, catch scents. The ferret can slip into places to grab things. The parrot can sound like stuff. The cat, it's there.
The cat doesn't care enough. That's why.
Yeah. So pet touches will allow
I just want
reduce stress.
I just want to see, like, the cat come up to, like, like, something on a table that's, like, the evil people have, like, the criminals.
It's knocking on the ground.
It's like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Don't knock that on the ground. It could explode.
The cat's gone rogue. He's reckless. I'm going to take your badge, Cleo.
I just see the cat, like...
You're a loose cannon.
The cat just going with, like, the fur up and, like, the tail up, piffed up, like, instead of, like, leaping, like, flying through the air like that in front of explosion, like...
Knocks the badge off the table. It's like, you're suspended. Turn in your badge and your gun. Knocks the gun off the table. Do you want to make it longer? Get out of here.
This also just sounds like a terrible, like, kids movie or something. Not even kids movie, just like parody movie.
In the sequel, Cleo gets paired with, like, a fancy rat and has to work with someone they don't like as their rookie officer.
Oh God.
Meow, 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 meow.
So petty officers available now for pre-order.
For money.
For money.
It's €11.
€11.
Like, I don't know, that might be like 15 American.
It's like $15. It's standard expansion price, kind of.
Well, hold on. It says you get 1 lead card deck. I don't think you're supposed to sell lead to people. It's like poisonous. I'm assuming it doesn't mean actual lead.
Yeah, I don't know. Surely.
No, lead is like really bad.
You can't really sell. You can't sell lead because, like, if you consume it somehow.
I think. Well, no, you can technically you can sell lead because there are still lead pencils out there that you can get. I think it's just
Graphite?
they mostly graphite now. Graphite's the way.
Yeah.
I think you can
I
still.
think the deck is made with graphite.
Can you still get? Like, I know you could buy like a piece of lead because it's a large piece of metal, and like
Yeah, but like you don't usually do that because it's like toxic.
If
and
you
stuff.
well, yes, but sometimes you want to protect yourself against radiation and hold up a sheet to also prevent a paladin from detect. No, I was gonna say a paladin from detecting your alignment.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with lead before.
That's why you have a lead sheet, just to be like, no peering at me, no knowing my light.
Lead tinfoil.
Just wear it around your head would be fine. The alien
Yeah.
thoughts in.
Yeah. Make sure you nibble on it sometimes too. To make sure it sticks.
It's like an envelope. You gotta lick it so it sticks.
Yeah. You gotta lick it first. Lick it really well and get it nice and. Never mind. Moving on.
There's some RPG stuff. There's totally some RPG stuff. We're gonna kind of talk about that briefly here. Surprisingly, like, honestly, every time that something of this comes out, I'm surprised. Like, they continue making things for it. Conan getting, like, rather than stupid books that are like all about Conan being a new job, it's actual adventures that were released.
It's a
Now-
new era. It's a whole new game.
Because it had detective expansion in front of it, I was thinking it was Detective Conan, the anime adventure.
I'd play that.
That actually would be probably, like, interesting Conan Adventures.
Yeah, so it's like, oh no, Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
adventure.
No, well,
His new job is a cop.
No, his new job is hanging out with an anime. It's Conan and Conan!
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Conan, you're a reckless cannon. You're the cop we need.
Don't worry, boss. I will behead our enemies.
Yeah, that's the only way to get rid of this criminal organization. I don't want any more paperwork.
So I paired you with
giving
this
you a
kid.
rookie.
This rookie kid who's technically just a 10-year-old. He'll look after
child.
this actual child will look after you and make sure you don't kill all the bad guys.
Oh.
$5 PDF though. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's probably a small expansion kind of thing.
Probably. I mean, it's just an adventure.
Mm-hmm. It's just some simple adventures set in the Shining Kingdom.
A land of rich and beauty,
Mhm.
but also intrigue and great danger.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
I feel like Conan is not the kind of person who should deal with intrigue.
I mean, his intrigue is, who do I stab with the sword? And
Yeah.
No. Conan's intrigue is, I've recruited Jimmy, the guy who does intrigue, and he's on my team. You know?
That's also accurate.
He has this cast of friends and characters who no one remembers. Except from the Conan Adventures animated series, where I could probably name all of them because that was great.
The thing in the woods. That's the name of this character monster thing. It has abilities such as Child of the Forest, Hibernation, and Preternatural Recovery? I can't read.
That sounds about right.
It does sound like the word it says.
It's like some bird tree creature, too. It's kind of neat looking.
It does have a bird face.
Mm-hmm.
You
Doom
expect
spends. It can spend Doom to fade to black.
Nice.
Or random
Yeah.
throw. I like that it's called that.
Looks really good.
I was choosing to not say that because it can be taken out of context.
I was going by the visual meaning of film for that one. Thank you very much.
I was not.
Yeah, the classic.
Clearly.
There's also there's two adventures: Isle of the Aeons and Eye of the Vulture. They're both standalone adventures you can do. That's it. They don't really provide much other than like, yeah, here's some stuff and it's a standalone
Yeah.
adventure and it's in the Shining Kingdoms. Yeah.
It uses the 2D20 system.
If you like Conan and you like this system, I mean, it's $5.
Why is there so much Conan?
Because Conan is apparently really old. There's a lot of Conan.
I'm honestly sometimes surprised they come out with more Conan content. Like, okay, these are adventures. Great. These is the kind of content that when someone comes out with it, I'm like, okay, cool.
No.
Great. Yeah, hi, Damien. I leaned slightly back, and so you decided
Damien,
that...
you're a loose cannon.
She is. She was just sleeping on my bed, and she's like, oh, you leaned back. I'm going to go torment you. Meow. Aww.
Put in your badge and your gun.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow.
Anyway, yeah, so Conan, they're making a lot of them lately, I guess.
They're going in a better direction than previous, because I recall, like, in the much earlier days with Joe, where we would talk about Conan's a pirate, or he's a swashbuckler, or he's some other kind of a thief, or he's a bandit, or he's this stupid job. Now he's just got a new job. Conan can't hold down a goddamn job.
Conan is Mario. Mario is officially no longer a plumber.
Yeah, no, he's not a plumber anymore.
He quit. He's an adventurer or something now, or
Yeah.
philanthropist or something.
He's rich.
I mean, look, see, that's not good. That's not a good, influence for young people. He should have stayed a plumber and just done plumbing on the side. You know, like the people that, actually are successful when they win the lottery. They keep to their job, they just, also have their mansion on the side.
I don't know, that dude collects like gold coins the size of him. So I think he's
Yeah.
pretty low. He's like Jeff Bezos level.
And Luigi owns several haunted mansions.
Yeah, Luigi owns like
Look,
at least 2, and then he owns a hotel.
Yeah, and he gets rid of all the dangerous ghosts and keeps the other ones, so then he can have like tours of like the friendly ghosts and stuff.
That was free labor.
Yeah, it's like come visit the ghost hotel. We have real ghosts.
Yeah.
Mario also got lost in time at one point.
He did.
Ending the
Yeah.
Galaxy
Yeah,
and
safe.
other weird shit that's happened to him constantly. Mario's got issues.
At least Conan hasn't gone to space.
Yeah.
Or has he? Bum bum bum.
Honestly, he probably has.
There, I would not be surprised if Conan's been in
This
space.
series has been around in the 1930s.
But yeah, Conan got adventures.
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about something that's weird and interesting.
Yes, I can.
Mother of Frankenstein. It's a very experimental type board game, it looks like. So, it's 3 games or volumes of story, they call it. Like, they have them like all in book format there. 1 to 6 players, between 10 and 15 hours of puzzles to solve. They've got 2 and 3D jigsaws to construct, documents to parse, mysterious artifacts to examine. So it's like this entire like weird puzzly game of a lot of different things of like, I guess, looking into like stories in a way.
It's not about Frankenstein.
It's about Mary
It's
Shelley.
about Mary Shelley,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Yeah. Like, Volume 1 players learn of Mary Shelley's childhood, following her education at the hands of her father, reading a correspondence with the great poet Percy Shelley, of whom she
But then
embarks in
she
a torrid
goes
love
to
affair.
Castle Frankenstein.
Yeah, you know.
Okay.
And
Where she learns the unholy art of
reanimation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Uh-huh.
Well, all right.
So,
Historical accurate game.
see, I think the thing is, what they're going with is they're going with the same kind of idea that World of Darkness goes for Dracula. Where World of Darkness, they say Dracula showed up and went to Bram Stoker and was like, hey, here's this story that's totally not of me that you should write down.
Oh, hell yeah, like Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, except this is supposed to be like Interview with Dr. Frankenstein, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Mary Shelley is
Yeah.
Dr. Frankenstein.
Yeah, she apparently she took over the role of Frankenstein.
She learns
in
the
this.
unholy
No. She hangs out with Frankenstein learning the unholy art of reanimation. And then you have to build an enormous 3D model of Castle Frankenstein in the last volume and solve a bunch of puzzles to get the dark secrets.
Right. I will play this
Yarks.
only if we do it like Young Frankenstein.
Oh god. I'd be down for that.
I mean, this is certainly something you gotta, like, play in with people in place, unfortunately. But, like, it actually is a really big model of, like, freaking,
That's
like...
pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, like, looking at the size of the table, and, like, they show a picture here, and I'm like, yeah, that's actually a really big 3D model you have to build there.
No.
It's interesting. It's experimental. It's different. And I think that's kind of what made it interesting for me to, like, kind of bring in here. Because I feel like it's hard to find stuff that is, like, as unusual or, in quotations, experimental as this nowadays.
Yeah.
It's
Kind of like the standard idea of a board game now.
Yeah. Granted, like,
Cookie cutter.
Pretty much.
I wouldn't say cookie cutter because there's always little differences and stuff, but I guess, like, when you boil
Risk.
it... Yeah, when you boil it
Monopoly.
down... Well, yeah, that's true. Those are very cookie cutter. What I mean
Well,
is, like, a card game is still a card game, is still a card game. It
Right.
doesn't have anything vastly
Yeah.
different. There might be slightly different ways you play it or different rule sets that make it unique and more fun than this card game over here. But in essence, it's still got this, like, core that's the same.
And then sometimes a board game is just this other board game with, like, extra steps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a thing that happens.
It's unfortunate that it's hard to find, like, that something that's very different, like this is. And,
Experimental is good.
yeah.
Whether or not this itself will be good or a bad game, I don't know. But trying something new is always good. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. You learn something.
Yeah.
And you can improve on that.
Hi, Damien. Welcome back.
Meow.
Meow. I like how she's, like, just, like, peering out from around the computer, like, just so you can see, like, half her face, just, like, kind of, like, looking at me going, meow. It's like, what are you planning on me, cat? No, don't leave me.
Cat's gonna-
That's an
Damien's
improvement.
Damien's taking over the podcast.
Yeah, it's
Probably.
improvement of our cat. Our cat was just yowls. It's like, oh, everyone. I don't live in the house, but the rest of the family hates it. So, yes, Damien is adorable. Our cat is annoying.
Hi, Damien. Let's go for our last main topic on the news-based things. With a, it's the thing is, that's what I think this really is, because it's a game that apparently originally emerged in 2017. The Thing Infection at Outpost 31.
Oh.
Okay.
So.
I think I've heard of
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what you mean by new thing. As in the thing.
Yes.
But new.
But it's also like a reprinting, basically. Because it's like they had the game out in 2017, and it just reading up from the article, it sounds like they only had a basic run of it. And they're like, hey, now we're putting it out again. And so, I mean, like, that's one of those interesting things is, like, it's questioning how long a run of a game actually goes nowadays and how much supply is actually created. And that's, like, one of these weird things that, like, we talk about board games sometimes, and it's like, you think of something like RPG books and stuff like that, which usually have a pretty high printing and tend to be very easy to pick up copies of.
Yeah.
And PDFs at very least. While when it comes to some of these board games, maybe not as much as you'd think.
It takes effort.
Quite a few board games are like limited run only.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. So, like, this is one of those ones that very well at the time could have technically been a limited run, and when it sold out, it sold out.
I'm not involved with them, but I know people who are making their own board game, and it's taken them like 6 months to a year or whatever just to get up the printing stuff, like the physical side. And I don't know if it's going to be a limited run or if it's like a print on demand kind of thing, but I imagine that there's like, you need to buy at least this many. So like, we're going to have a batch of, I don't know, 10,000 or something.
Yeah, that's usually.
And then after that, it's like, well, we're done. That's what you paid for, you know?
Yep. And then if they get more orders in, they can order more.
Like,
because that is how it goes usually.
Like, honestly, I'm pretty sure I had seen this at one point in time.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
Because I remember... Yes, because I've played the game that is Who Goes There, I think it is, which is based on the original book, which the thing comes from, which was its own Kickstarter, which Blaze actually got. So he has a physical copy of that one, and I think I've played it with people on Tabletop Simulator too. But like this version of the game, I do recall seeing it and thinking about, oh hey, it's a different kind of thing game, more based upon like the movie and stuff. Because that's what it is. This is more based on the and it's also based on the John Carpenter thing.
Yeah, the remake of the original movie. Which
honestly, I would be interested if they did one of the original movie, because the original movie, it's different.
It's so different.
Like, I rewatched it like last year, and I'm like, wow, it's not bad for like a 1950s movie.
No, like in its own right, it's a good movie.
But it's very different because they couldn't do the kind of things that were like in it.
The remake is more accurate to the original source material because they could do those kinds of things.
Was that the 80s remake?
The 80s remake, yeah. And the 2011 movie is a prequel to that one, and it's kind of bad because it's the heavy CGI usage, which looks ugly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've seen that one, but I have seen the one from the 80s, which was
the 80s
good
was
and horrible.
It's the weird thing that I feel...
my favorite horror movie.
It's the weird thing that I feel like the best effects comes from a good balance between CG and practical effects.
You need both.
And the
practical effects are very expensive.
Yeah, because it used to be the opposite, and it was like the practical effects were cheaper, but now with CG being the cheapest thing, they heavily rely on that, and it's unfortunate that there's points of times it just doesn't work.
There was something, I don't remember when it was, but it was when the early CG stuff was coming out, and they talked about how long it took for the computer to generate like 8 seconds of video or something. It might have been the Terminator 2 stuff that had the CG.
Because they enhanced a lot of stuff with CG.
Yeah, and listening to the like actual creators my throat. Listening to the actual creators talk about how long it took and how expensive it was to do these things is like, well, we could have shot it, like 2 or 3 times and maybe got the correct footage, or we could have done it like once with the computer at like 5 times the time,
if I
but like
remember
half
right,
cost.
there's a scene in I think it's 2 where, because I think it's during the truck chase where like a building just gets like completely smashed up, and they weren't gonna do that, and then Arnold was like, I want to do this, I'll pay for it. I think it's the second one where he just paid for a scene so it could be in, and it's a good scene.
The truck chase was another one they did, like with the explosion and the liquid coming back together. That was all CG.
It's probably very expensive to do that.
But again, like the way that liquid metal worked, it could be excused as it kind of was like weird and alien.
It still looks good though.
That movie holds up.
Because of its like unusual nature, that's why it holds up, I think. Like something that looks a lot more realistic, it's harder for it to hold up now.
But there's also a lot of practical effects in that movie as well, which I think makes it.
Yeah, when you mix them together, they look really good. Because you're
'Cause
supposed
if
to
you
use
just
it
do
to
all
enhance the practical effects.
Well, it's like, I still think, like, I like Jurassic Park, the original one, but I still think, like, the actual dinosaur puppets still hold up a lot better than, let's say, like, some of the CG in that one, unfortunately. It's not bad, for its age, because...
The animatronics were really good in that movie,
those are much more awesome, but...
Yeah, I remember there was a... Now that we're just super off topic, when they were filming the second one, they had the 2 animatronics fight, the T-Rex and the Spino, and... I don't know if it was the original T-Rex one, but they actually broke the T-Rex one. The Spino, like, ripped it in half, like, twisted it in half. They're like, ooh, oops.
That's gonna be expensive.
Yeah! I remember one of the people talking about that.
I mean...
But yeah, that's different.
Yeah, but,
Back to the thing.
I'm happy that they're getting a reprint. I mean, like, honestly... Yeah. This is a game that I think I said I wanted to kind of try out and just haven't yet, because again,
I'd be down. I love the thing.
It's
my favorite horror movie.
Who Goes There is a really fun game. Unfortunately, it's one of those games where it's like it's cooperative until it's not, because you do not know who is infected, if anybody's infected, or when someone becomes infected. It's sort of like the you do your best to avoid infection, but you just don't know when it's gonna happen, and so it's like it's paranoia.
You know it's coming as well.
Yeah,
it's like it's going to happen.
But okay, why don't we hit up our deeper discussion topic? And this is one that I was kind of waffling on until we got to this list of things here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about it because it's something that I think we've hinted on here and there, the concepts on it, the idea behind what is a classic board game versus a modern one, and how board games have kind of evolved, and what it means to be kind of like in our modern version of them in comparison. Because I think that's something to think about, because like we talk about classics, and you can list off a bunch of them. You can list off like things like Sorry, Clue, Monopoly, The Game of Life, Chutes and Ladders. There's a whole host of them, and a lot of them are... The thing about it is, not all of them are as simple as you'd think for being a very old game. I have to admit. Some of them can be relatively complex, actually, which, like, I think that's what some people, when they think about classic games, first think about, is, it's just so simple. It's just this,
I think you could divide this up, because there's a category of board games that's like family board games or children board games, and then there's the ones that, maybe teenagers and young adults is what they're aimed for, and those ones are very different, which is kind of, I think, what we're seeing now is because of, I would just say the internet, basically, for a lot of this, is the ability to get your name out there and your product out there is so much easier. So where before, if you didn't pander to the market, you were just a niche product.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit less common now.
And I think that's, you make a really good point there, that, like, a lot of times when people think classic board games, they automatically think to a lot of the ones that are more driven towards being played with younger people.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a good thing when you think about, like, classics. I think it comes down to, there's this really hard line of what it means to be a classic game and what it means to be more of the modern take on board games. Because I feel like the modern take of board games came about around the time that, the early 2000s, I think, is what it is, where Settlers and the other German-based board games that were kind of niche in those became worldwide popular.
Yeah. Like, the thing I will say, what we consider the quote-unquote, would consider the quote-unquote modern board game is called a Euro game.
Yeah.
Because they're popular in Europe, and now they're very popular in North America. It would see things like Catan and Scythe, which is popular-ish.
Carcassone's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But Catan is the most popular one.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Catan...
I've played it once.
I've played too much Catan. I don't think I like it anymore.
I like the concept is fine, but it's a little too against your fellow players, and I'm just kind of like, eh.
Yeah, the first time I played Catan, someone boxed me in, and I was just like, alright, I'm done.
I like some of the other expansions because they fix a little bit of that, I think. Like, Knights of the Cities does a pretty good job of that, and Seafarers. They're not perfect, in any sense of the word, for getting rid of that, but I think they improve on what the original did a little bit for that. What was it? I would not recommend... There was like a Star Trek... It might not be Catan. There was a Star Trek version of a game that took fucking forever to do. That I was playing with Joe. No. It was either Catan... No, it wasn't Catan. Oh, that was Castle Panic. Don't play Star Trek Castle Panic. It's fun, but you can get stuck in this loop of you will take fucking forever to play through it. Because unlike normal Castle Panic, where the thing of enemies goes away permanently, enemies refresh in that one because you're supposed to get a certain number of quotation missions done. Anyway.
Is your mission not to boldly go?
Well, it's sort of like there's a pile of like these missions that are basically episodes, and you have to resolve them with cards from your hand.
So if you just have a bad hand, that it's just too bad?
While also using... Your hand is both for that, and also for fending off the attacks of Romulans and Klingons, because this is original series, and keeping the ship in one piece. So you're balancing between all three.
That sounds not good.
It's fine. I played it with just me and Joe. Maybe playing it with more than 2 players would help a lot.
Probably.
But it took us forever. We did win, and I think what we had left is we had a single working nacelle where everybody was basically... We shoved all the population of the crew into, basically to keep it functioning. It was enough to give us propulsion, so we're just, like, limping along as the ship's, like, on fire, and we have this one little area that's, like, beat up and, like, got, like, you know, like, force fields blocking, like, holes in it and stuff. We're like, put, we completed our mission.
Nice.
But, that's what I kind of, for a second, I thought about that. But, yeah, no, I think the Euro-style game is certainly much more of a modern one. But there's even, like, classics in amongst that. And here's something that, like, I like to point out because it's something I keep forgetting. The original Arkham Horror is from the 80s.
Yep.
Wow.
People forget that. That
game is old. People always think of, like, the second edition, which I think came out, like, late 90s, early 2000s in that era. But, yeah. It's kind of hard to understand, like, the definition, because modern versus classic is something I think that is in people's minds when they think about board games sometimes. And I think I want to kind of shatter that a little bit, because there is a level of, like, the classic games. The old ones. The ones that have been around for a very long time.
Like the game of Ur.
Yes. Or, I mean, honestly, like, fucking Monopoly is ancient.
Fuck.
Monopoly
is over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's 1904 or something.
No.
And then it was renewed in 1924.
Yeah.
Because it's based off of landlords or something.
Yeah, Clue's pretty old.
At this point, Ticket to Ride is pretty old.
Yeah.
That came out in like 2004.
Yeah, and I think that's like another thing is you have to think about, like, I grew up in the board game revolution, you know? It was right at the end of my time at high school that all of a sudden, hey, there's this great game called Catan, and things like Munchkin came out, and there was this, all of a sudden, like, it switched from, like, the comic shops having, you know, comic books, Warhammer, and Magic the Gathering to, hey, there's this huge board game section. And I remember that being an evolution. That didn't exist. You know, you still had your miniatures games, like, you still had miniatures games in general. I don't know if how old is Warhammer, actually?
Warhammer
Probably
is quite old.
I would think 60s, 70s.
It's not that old, I don't think.
I will be happily surprised when you tell me.
83.
Yeah.
83. The original Warhammer came out in 83.
Yeah, and then
Not
40K was 87.
I am older than 40K.
But still,
And
I'm actually the same age as original Warhammer.
Ha! Take that, original Warhammer.
But the original one hasn't been active since 2015, so it died.
Oh,
Rest in peace.
You've lived
Yeah,
longer than
original Fantasy Warhammer was the world exploded.
Yeah. So now they have Age of Sigmar and 40K is the replacements.
Age of Sigmar is like, alright.
But no, it's like that. The original like comic shops I would go to were comic books. Like, you know, you had your role playing books because you still had like AD&D. World of Darkness came out in the 90s. You know, things like that. You know, so you had a resurgence of role playing games, sort of there. There was stuff there, but that big section of like board games just did not exist until like the early 2000s, and that's when things just began to change, I think. And
Yeah.
Which is also around the time the internet got a lot bigger.
it's true. When people began
I remember playing StarCraft and Diablo in 99 and 2001.
Good old Diablo.
Yep.
I didn't know Axis and Allies was 40 years old.
Yeah, Axis and Allies is pretty.
I didn't know that was that old.
Yeah.
It's because people like to take old concepts and renew them, give them a fresh coat of paint. It's just like in the movies, that they just keep re-releasing things, and now video games.
I mean, they did release a World War I version of Axis and Allies fairly recently.
Neat.
I mean, like, they did a 3rd edition of Arkham Horror. Honestly speaking, it looks like it's got some interesting updates that make me feel like I want to try it. The unfortunate thing is I bought a lot of the original Arkham Horror, so I don't know if I'd want to spend the money on the 3rd edition now, even though
It's like when you buy a video game and then they release a new version. You're like, I've already bought this twice. I'm not buying it for a 3rd time.
Okay.
Hello, Skyrim. Is that you?
No.
I've only bought Skyrim once.
No. I'm going to give the best example of this, which I've heard about, because I think recently I was talking about people about Final Fantasies, and Final Fantasy X came up. And I remember, I got the original Final Fantasy X, I played through it, liked it a lot. You know, granted, it's not one of my top Final Fantasies, but I like all Final Fantasy games that I played, except for a few. Cough.
9 is bleh.
I like 9. I like it a lot better than 8.
I liked 8, but I hated the magic draw side of it. That was the only thing I didn't like about 8.
I heard someone talk about it where they're like, yeah, you know, you can just start the early game and just like farm for a while and become basically invincible for the rest of the game. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. But no, it's not even a speedrunner strat, because it takes you a long time to do all that stuff. So it's like, waste your time now to speed through the rest of the game later.
Yeah.
I've never played old Final Fantasy games. 10 is the one with like the laugh, right?
10 is the one with the
10
laugh.
is the laugh.
Mm-hmm. But
I mean, you can't go wrong playing the classics. Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6 are all amazing games.
I'll probably pick those up on Steam at some point.
they just did. They're doing their like remasters. I'm
they're
gonna
re-releasing like most of them.
Which are hit or miss on how good the remaster is, apparently.
I heard 1 was pretty good.
They just released 4.
Yeah.
It came out like yesterday or something.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how good that is for people that
And-
played 4.
I mean, I've played a lot of 4 on the NES, technically, and I was reading reviews, and there's bugs, and I only hope that they decide to fix those, because, I mean, in a live service world or whatever, there's really no excuse to not go back and patch your game.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought up 10, barring all other discussions, is originally came out like in Japan and the US. Then they released like a new edition of it with additional stuff in Japan. And then they released an anniversary edition in the US with that additional stuff plus something else. And it's just really annoying. And I think that's the kind of concept of like, it's the same thing except we have a little different, or we've edited a little different, or something like that, or we've fixed some of the bugs or something like that. Like, something like the Final Fantasies, that they're very old. You know, like the original Final Fantasy, that's the 80s. I can see, like, not many people own an NES cartridge with an NES and can play it. You could emulate that, but, like, that would require, you know, if we're legally speaking, you to actually own the game before you emulate it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Like, I can say, I own the original Final Fantasy. I have a NES cartridge of it somewhere around here. I could emulate it. Because, like, I can reach over and I got... which one is this one here? Hey, it's Pictionary!
Hey, you can emulate that.
I got Rampage over here, too. Yeah, there's a couple NES games piled up here. The original Ninja Turtles, the original Ninja Gaiden.
Now you're just showing
no.
off.
Ooh, Goonies 2.
Ooh,
Oh
that's
no,
classic.
Goonies 2!
Ooh. Simon's Quest, the second Castlevania.
Oh, hell yeah, I
Oh,
love
man.
that game.
Oh, and one more. Friday the 13th. It's awful.
I played that one, yeah.
I mean, that's unfortunately a lot of video games in the early days.
Yeah.
There was a lot of garbage released.
Oh, I also have Monster Fighting,
It's,
Darkwing
you know,
Duck, Rampage,
hasn't
and
changed.
Duck.
Yeah, that hasn't changed at all.
No.
You know, just go to Steam and
Just go to
The first
Steam
10
and look at new releases.
yeah, the first 10 things you see are probably garbage.
Well, the Friday the 13th one I think I got like with a bundle of a bunch of games from like that were like used at a video rental store that they were selling them
Oh,
off
yeah.
then, you know.
Man, video rental stores.
Yeah, where they
Those
like
are old.
where they were done with
Those were a
video
thing.
games, you could just like buy like a
Yeah.
bundle of
Yeah.
like ones, and it's like, oh, awesome! I got these
That's where I
cheap.
That's where I got most of the games from.
But no, like something like the Arkham Horror, I didn't feel bad when they came out with a third edition of it. You know, I was like, I'm probably not going to get it because I did spend so much money on it, but I'm like, oh, cool. It's been over a decade. I can understand a new edition of it that
Yeah.
fixes things.
Yeah.
You know, that was and like because they updated stuff, like changing it from like a full board that you'd set up to like a tile-based system. I thought that was like, that seems like an improvement. It's like, you know...
I don't know enough about that game to comment, but if my guess is that you're like exploring a place, I think a tile-based system that you lay down not only would make it so that there's some replayability, because it could be like a random thing, like what you find in the next room, but it could also make it where it's more of a mystery, where it's like, you're in this room, you see these things. You don't see the entire map,
Yeah.
the entire layout.
I think it's like, I don't know how the tile-based system works exactly, but it's supposed to be like, because it's supposed to be the city you're exploring, because it's sort of like shit's going down in Arkham.
As usual.
Like the city of Arkham or whatever it's called, you know, and
Why
you're
do
like,
people continue to live in this place? I don't
Yeah.
understand.
so it's
Four.
So it's like you set up things with like these like streets in between the various tiles that you're going to, like, oh, I'm going over to this area here, and like, you know, I'm going to, like, you know, oh, something's going on at the movie theater, or like, I guess it would be, because it's like really old, like the actual just theater, you know.
Theater.
So they're performing a version of the King in Yellow and summoning him to this world. Oh no, we must stop it, forsooth.
Yeah.
And then you get, well, technically it's like 1930s, because then
They're
you guys.
performing Death of a Salesman.
Then you get the guy that's the gangster who can take on Cthulhu on his own because he gets dynamite and a Tommy gun at first.
sounds about right.
No, that was really like a friend of mine was talking about how like he ended up like they failed to prevent the old one from being summoned, but then he's like, yeah, but we managed to kill Cthulhu because I'd saved my dynamite and I just used it on him and then just loaded on. I had like a bunch of stuff to keep me alive and I just like unloaded my Tommy gun into him, and all the other characters just kept me alive when I just kept shooting him.
Yeah, I mean, hey, the great old one's not immune to bullets.
Well, when he manifests in the world, he's not immune to dynamite and bullets, apparently.
Physical now. He can bleed.
Welcome to Earth.
That's why you have the gangster, who's a tank, and you just have like the other players keep his mind alive as he slowly goes insane while murdering Cthulhu. And afterwards, he's probably in terrible shape, but he's won.
That's fine. He saved the world by literally killing Cthulhu.
No one will ever know.
Congratulations, you've won.
You're also insane because it's a Cthulhu-based game. But no, yeah. It's definitely this weird spot we're in a lot now, where we're getting, new versions of games from, like, the 2000s and stuff like that, and re-releases. And there are other things like, honestly speaking, I'm blown away sometimes that, Munchkin has lasted as long as it is and has as many products as it is. They put out way too many.
That's how they make money.
I know. That's how Steve Jackson Games keeps the lights on with lots and lots of Munchkin.
They're starting to run out of money. Just release a new pack of Munchkin first. There you go.
Yeah.
Release a new set.
I mean, they tried to release the Munchkin CCG, which just disappeared one day. Quite literally, like it was the weirdest thing. The Munchkin CCG, you would hear stuff about it, and then they just stopped talking about it, and and then like I think it was later, like me and Joe noticed that because we were keeping attention with the news a lot better back then with like a lot of things and in depth with those. And then at the that year at PAX Unplugged, we were on the train and we got into a conversation with someone because they were talking like we just ended a conversation and they were like, yeah, I was playing a bunch of the Munchkin CCG and then they just like stopped caring. They don't respond to anything about it anymore. You can't ask them questions. They're not selling anything. They just stopped one day.
It's very weird.
Cthulhu took over the mind of Steve Jackson.
Well, they put out a CCG in like in a market that there aren't many CCGs. There's like your Pokemon, your Yu-Gi-Oh, and your Magic. Competing with those is really difficult.
No, it's not easy.
And also, I have to admit, their CCG, we play tested it the 1 year. Not easy.
Oh, damn.
It had like twice the number of steps in a round than Magic.
Whoa, that's too many.
God.
Granted, in Magic, like a bunch of those steps are quiet ones. If nothing's going on there, it doesn't matter. Like I think it's like
I lay down this card face down and end my turn.
I play Blue Eyes White Dragon in defense mode.
No.
Close enough.
You play Dark Magician Girl.
That's Magic, right? Oh, Dark Magician Girl.
Because it's untap, upkeep, draw,
Yeah.
and that kind of like is all put together in one, so that doesn't matter. And then there's an end step, which is technically 2 steps, but no one ever cares about that. Again, it's one of those things that it just sort of happens. You only have your main steps where you're doing a lot of like your fighting with your monsters and stuff. This one, it had like twice the number of steps, and granted, again, like probably half of them were a lot more of those shadowy ones, but it's sort of like if you're not putting them all together, you have to like think of them individually and like remember them a lot more and be like, I have to do this. It was not great, and also like the 2 sides we were playing were horribly unbalanced. Like,
I mean, that's still less complicated than modern Yu-Gi-Oh.
I don't even know what that
Modern
is about
Yu-Gi-Oh.
anymore.
Look,
A mess.
I could have played Yu-Gi-Oh back when I watched some of the anime, maybe. I probably wouldn't have been good, but I could have at least pretended to play. And I gotta be honest, I did at one point in time know how to play the Pokemon card game because
I've never figured out how to play that one.
I bought a bunch of them when it like first came out, and I played with my dad, but I don't think we actually played correctly.
So like the one experience I remember from Pokemon cards is getting scammed out of my Charizard.
God, that's terrible.
And it made me really sad.
Did you go murder them later?
No.
with a fully automatic
No.
assault rifle with a suppressor on it.
I
And
just
a mini
remember
skirt.
buying Pokemon cards at the 7-Eleven that is nearby to where I am. I remember doing that, and I remember I had to travel like half an hour to an area to do like a couple of their like gym events at a local game store, and after like twice I'm like because again I was already a little older, and it was like there's like 3 other people my age and then a lot of kids, and I'm like nope.
Yeah,
I'll
You're
stick
in
with
the wrong store,
like-
old man.
yeah, I'll stick with Magic. I'll stick with Magic.
Yeah, like I had opened my pack. I had the cool Charizard, and then some kid who was older was like, "Oh, that's garbage. You want this like other card?" Then I think it was like a Pikachu, and dumb child brain was like, "Pikachu's like the mascot of the series. He's really cool." So I gave up my fucking Charizard for a Pikachu. So it was a dumb child.
Yeah, but like, I feel like it depending on how modern and how new they are.
Yeah.
Having games come out that aren't just rehashing the old formula from 10, 20, 30, 50, 5,000 years ago, it is better because
It is.
you get different types of systems, different types of ideas. Maybe one idea, something we talked about today, you know, one of these games, not super great, but, you know, someone plays it and goes, you know, this has got some really good ideas. If they just change these things, and maybe they go on and make a really amazing board game or something.
Yeah, I think we're kind of hitting the point again where board games are kind of stagnating into this is what is popular at the moment. We should just make only this kind.
It's unfortunate but true. I feel like
Can we get Cthulhu Clue Edition?
I'd love that. Cthulhu.
Arkham
who did
Cthulhu.
Cthulhu mind melt? You have to find out. That would actually be really cool.
No.
Especially if you had a little bit of craziness.
I like the idea of it, but we do it like you're investigators, and rather than like you're trying to figure out which of the investigators do it, it's which of the great old ones is trying to like invade the world. You know?
That would be really cool.
Oh,
It's Cthulhu with the artifact.
great old one?
It'd be like Cthulhu with the artifact, done by the cultists, you know, or something like that. Or, so it's like
Which great old one is coming back? You have to figure out who done it.
you have to figure out which one's coming back with what like weird item and which group of people's doing it. You know, it's like the professor with the Necronomicon is summoning, you know, Haster. You know, something.
See, this is what I'm talking about. You can take something that's old and completely reflavor it, but is it better? It's interesting and different, but not necessarily better.
Yeah, like.
I'd play it because I like Clue.
Yeah, and I'm
But-
sure like you could add some like levels to it that make it different and maybe make it different enough.
And not just be Clue.
Yeah,
I
Like,
mean,
not just be Cthulhu Clue.
I mean, we'll never hit. We've already hit peak re-release when Hasbro made a D-Day Monopoly board. So we've already hit peak re-release.
That's awful. That is really awful.
Yeah. I was gonna give an example of something that I thought was a good kind. Like there are good rehashes or re-releases. I have to say, like as much as it was difficult, like I complained about it. The Star Trek Castle Panic. It was a completely different way of playing Castle Panic, and I like Castle Panic. And again, like my memory, because of that one time, we just couldn't. We managed to never die, and also like never survive. You know, if we just
Never give up.
yeah,
Never give up.
yeah, we just kept
never give up
fighting
or
and somehow kept going for so long, and it took forever to win, but we did. It felt great. It also was like, why the hell did this take so long?
Painstaking.
Yeah. There are other ones that I think Star Trek Catan is a pretty good one because it adds like, you know, roles where you get special powers and interesting things like that. Something that you add enough extra layers, it can work as a re-release of a game more than just a game and play a little differently. I think like Ticket to Ride versus Ticket to Ride Europe. I like Ticket to Ride. I also like Ticket to Ride Europe, and I know it's also a new level of challenge and difficulties. And I could play both of them separately.
I feel like Ticket to Ride is one of the easiest board games to make.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like there are things that you can do that rehash, but don't go too far.
Or like what I said, Axis and Allies. It's traditionally a World War II war game. They made a World War One version, which is apparently pretty good. Because it's the same game, different miniatures and technology.
And I'm sure you could probably actually do like a maybe even like some kind of like Cold War one and make it more espionage themed, you know, where
There's probably board games like that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But there's like things you can do. There are also like a bajillion clues that are just, you know, it's a facelift or
And there's a new Monopoly every week.
and those are
Many
those are
monopolies.
bad, honestly. And I think that's the sad thing, and it gives games like this a bad name. The older ones that maybe you can get a good rehash on.
Yeah.
Or something that's new but doesn't have the same marketing as Monopoly and is a superior game. But people are just like, oh man, Monopoly.
Shoot.
Or
I
like
think every household in America has a Monopoly board.
We have one.
I've got one. I've got
I have one. in
I've
my
got
closet.
Catopoly somewhere.
Monopoly?
Catopoly.
That sounds like something we should play on stream.
Yeah.
All it is Monopoly that's cat themed.
Well, I mean, there's a cat like piece now. Monopoly, right?
Something like that.
I don't know.
I think it's like rather than streets, you collect like cat breeds or something like that. And you're like cat toys or things, you know, as your pieces.
Real weird.
Yes.
I've played Catopoly
Darn.
once.
It's not as bad as meme
Darn
SpongeBob
factory.
Monopoly.
Oh, meme SpongeBob Monopoly. I think it's that also like sometimes because of things like the monopolies and the clues that go too far and like being too many of them, we also forget that sometimes there's like re-releases, rehashes can work well. Even like reskins can be good. Like I gotta be honest, like I think another game that has a lot of skins to it, that's pretty much the same game but still plays different enough is like Fluxes. I like Flux. It's a very simple. It's a very simple card game in general, but when you reskin it, you can create like unique cards to that set. You know, if you're playing a Star Trek one, then have teleporters do something else than just be a card in front of you and have like little abilities like that. Or when they did their space one, where they had like things that were spoofs of like, you know, the Time Doctor and like, you know, the laser sword. You know,
Like, you could take Terraforming Mars, which is a fantastic board game, and you
Yes.
could just like put that on a different planet or like on a moon, and you technically have a new board game, and you can change a
Terraform
lot of
Earth.
you could change a lot of the cards, and it can be a different experience.
it's the same game, different experience. You know, and sometimes you need that to refresh yourselves. You know. I'm sure it's like we're talking about Catan, how you can only play Catan so many times.
God, you really can.
Well, when I play something with Star Trek Catan, where like you get like to switch between these roles that like have special abilities and like do things that are kind of neat and add a little extra.
It's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's different enough.
Is it super different? I don't know. That comes down to testing it out yourself and like learning about it, you know, how if it's different enough, and that's I think the question you have to ask. And I think that's what it is that like don't think of anything as necessarily a classic board game. Think of each board game on its own. Do you enjoy that board game to begin with? If you enjoy the fuck out of Sorry and someone comes up with a weird crazy new version of it, then you might very well like that.
Yeah.
I, for one, just remember a lot of rage induction from Sorry, and that's why that's all I remember from that one, is getting very angry as a child.
One of those like kid board games just makes me mad.
Sorry and Trouble. Those because they're basically similar yet different. One of them is card-based, and the other is dice-based. They both pissed me off.
If you ever want to like send me over the edge, just play Monopoly with me. I will get mad.
Let the hate flow within you.
But again, like easily, like if your classics from like 2000 now, because it could be,
Because we're old.
enjoy
Yeah,
it.
we're all old.
Time flows forward, and the Xbox 360 is a retro console now.
Freaking
man.
PS2 is retro.
I
PS2,
have both
PS2
of
came out in
those.
like 2001, to be fair.
Would they call PS because it's 2 generation backs? Would PS3 be retro at this point in time?
Yeah, because
I
the
own one of
360,
those,
the
too.
360 is retro, so yeah, the PS3 is retro.
God.
Yep.
Well,
Someone told me that, and it made me sad.
do we want to go on
Um.
to the
I have
next?
a
Yeah.
Kickstarter, I guess.
Let's go to that. I don't have a Kickstarter, so go
I
ahead.
have
Technically
one.
Post it.
Hi,
You
I
have the
post.
power.
I can post.
I gave you the dark
Ooh.
power.
Oh, let me just
Oh, yeah.
the
Use it.
power
Use
starts
it
booming.
for
Yes.
evil.
Right. So, are you tired of Wizards not having one shots? Because I fucking am. The XP to level 3, which is a pretty good YouTube channel. They also have Arcane Arcade, which is their D&D channel, are releasing a book in kind of like collaboration with Ghostfire Gaming, who are the Grim Hollow guys, called the Questonomicon, which is a collection of one-shots that can be extended into 2 or 3 shots, with different themes, like Wild West, horror, like heist, that kind of thing.
Oh, hell.
And it is all sort of like presented by a goofy, clumsy skeleton knight who just loves telling stories. But it is just a book of little side quests and one-shots that you could like slide into your adventure. They are technically for level 1, but they are built in ways that you can alter them for a higher level. Because it is made by 4 dungeon masters, and all of them are also players themselves.
And it's mega funded, but
It
you
is-
can still
It
buy
is mega funded. It's like $20 for 25 for the PDF. I will be backing this because I like content, and I like I like XP to level 3. I like their channel.
Yes, 25 is the PDF, and you can pledge more money if you want more stuff.
You want some physical goodies?
Yeah, like a hardcover book. There is also, I think, some minis
Some
involved
dice,
here.
minis.
Minis are cool.
Maps.
There's a DM screen. But yeah, it's a nice book of, I don't know how many one-shots. There's 10 one-shots. There's 10 stories with 30 different adventures. And the thing that I find the most interesting about this is each one-shot has 2 villains you can run with.
Mix it up.
They can be different each time you run them.
Cool.
Yeah, looks pretty cool to me.
All right. Shall we go on to our week in tabletop?
I'm dying.
Who wants to talk about Cyberpunk?
Cyberpunk was a thing.
We murdered some people.
I rolled a stealth check and fumbled and tripped and broke my face
Yep, in front of a bunch of guards, and they
in front
laughed
of
at
in
you.
front of a bunch of guards who laughed at me.
And then you went back to the little like headquarters with a bloody nose, and you're like, I need like a moment to.
And then when asked, I was like, I tripped and fell, and then got laughed at more.
Uh,
Some people got super fucking murdered.
yes,
I
because
think
this is
I-
Cyberpunk 2020.
Yeah, I
just
think
for
I like
Yeah, we played
just for fun. I like mathed out how much damage, and both of them were like over 200 damage.
they got really screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
But the funny thing is, they only died because we shot them in the head.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they probably would have survived, but been incredibly grievously wounded.
They
Because
probably would be
when they-
missing limbs because
when
limb
they-
damage exists.
When they shot our nomad, they blew her leg off from
Yeah.
just the random rolls that kept hitting the left leg. So they had like their leg totally shredded to pieces, and I had to carry them out.
Honestly, that's why I was like, I didn't even think about how deadly it was, but I'm like, you know what? I don't need heavy armor, but I just need enough armor. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
I can buy all this armor that gives me like a 14 to all my areas. That sounds good. Our Nomad had like 4.
A 4.
See, I didn't know about the fancy pants that
Yeah.
you get that were like 14.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one.
Well,
Yeah, I had
I
the
made my
fancy
character
pants.
later, so you know.
Yeah,
and-
you
and Tam
had
just had the
later
fancy pants.
stuff. I just had 4 leg armor.
But like,
Yeah, that's not enough.
I think like what we did to the people, I could have maybe survived because I had a lot of armor, but that's about it.
I would have been totally fine.
If it didn't hit your head,
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah,
didn't
because that's like
bypass your head AC,
yeah, because
I guess damage reduction is not AC.
I had a helmet too. I was smart and
Yeah.
be like Joe was like, you should probably buy a helmet too, and I'm like, helmets are kind of stupid, but I'm like also like, headshots exist. Helmet it
Yeah.
is for like when we're going into these weird places, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would, after playing the one shot of the 2020, I would like to see how the Cyberpunk Red system holds up compared to that, because I'm not a fan of ultra mega deadly systems, because, like, let's just use Pathfinder or, like, D&D 5e, for example. If I'm the Dungeon Master, I can make it as deadly or as non-deadly as I want by changing the creatures you fight. It's not hard built into the rules by how deadly the system is.
Yeah, that is the downside with the old systems, though, is they're super fucking deadly.
Yeah, I mean, even, what's the space one? Stars Without Numbers.
Oh, that one is mega deadly.
Stars Without Numbers is extremely deadly at level 1 because some random dude on the street can pull out a pistol and shoot you and you're just dead. Roll a new character. It gets less deadly as you level up.
Well, kind of, because I got incinerated by a psychic, which is pretty deadly.
I would argue that your DM game master may have been deadly on purpose.
A little over it, little too deadly.
Yeah. That game gets a little bit less deadly over time.
It does,
It's super deadly at low level, but a lot of games that have like dice and variants and stuff can just be deadly at level 1.
Yeah.
Pathfinder and D&D, they're no exception.
However, in Cyberpunk, because you don't hit, well, you can target, but you get like a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You roll to target, and if you target the head, it is double damage. I'm pretty sure, right? So if you get shot in the head, you're probably going to die.
Yeah.
Granted, it's like a 10% chance each of your shots will be on the
It's a
head.
very low chance.
Yeah, but still, that's enough to be very dangerous.
I mean, when I full autoed one of the dudes, I missed with every shot,
You did,
apparently. And then when I shot the other dude, I hit him a bunch, and then one shot to the head was enough to kill him.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like
That's all it took.
like I had 2 shots, so I shot once. I was like, body shot, and then I'm like, I'll take the penalty and go for the headshot. He died.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. Basically, it was 3 headshots, and the encounter was over.
We escaped with our prize. We escaped with Mr. Stud or whatever.
You know, yeah, we stole some stuff.
We
were
stole
like,
a
screw
cyber
this.
We did steal a cyber penis, in which to sell on the black market in order to afford a new leg for our gnome.
Yeah, because their leg got completely shredded.
Yeah, so that's what we decided we would steal for.
Yeah, it's like, we were just gonna grab this thing and leave, but we
No,
had a
fuck you. We're
combat
stealing all of
encounter,
your shit.
so we're taking everything. Everything is not nailed down. All these expensive briefcases, yeah, num. These are ours.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was pretty much the game. There was a lot of like scouting around.
It's a nice roleplay.
RP. Yeah.
Tech issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
There
was
was like an
that.
hour of tech issues.
I think it was a fine.
Fine time. I enjoyed it.
I think Joe did a decent job running it.
I had fun.
Definitely, I wouldn't mind a little bit more. Certainly, I feel like I don't know how much the 3rd edition or Red improved upon the 2020.
Edition, I don't think improved much.
Yeah.
Red is completely different.
Yeah, Red is like a different game.
Red is super modern.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's probably better because, like, in the 2020 rulebook, they have like, oh, here's your mobile phone, and then they have like the brick phone from the 80s.
Yeah, the brick.
And it's like, no, that's not a mobile phone anymore, guys.
Yeah, it feels very like badly 80s
It's
technology.
super dated.
Yeah.
Which is part of the problem.
I think that's like one of the advantages that Shadowrun had is even like some of the stuff that feels kind of dated still like is cool enough to be different. Like I'm sorry, first edition Shadowrun, like, the hackers had, like, a keyboard computer thing that you would, like, have, which I'm like, that was, like, a manual one to, like, do advanced hacking, and I'm like, as much as I'd be like, well, that's kind of seems badly, and, like, you know, you could miniaturize it a lot more nowadays with how we miniaturize computers, it's also like, well, that's not a terrible idea that, like, to, like, miniaturize a really powerful computer into, like, laptop size, like, something that's, like...
the size of my keyboard.
Yeah.
My keyboard is big.
Yeah.
But, like, if my keyboard had the same power as my rig, which is, like, 20 times bigger than my keyboard, that'd be a stupidly powerful machine.
And so, like, that's why, like, even those, like, those early Shadowruns where it had stuff like that, I'm like, it still feels sci-fi-y more than, unfortunately, Cyberpunk did, and they came out at similar times. I don't know. Cyberpunk 2020, because it's the weird thing that it's, like, it's a weird alternate world that takes place in 2020.
Which is the past now.
Yeah, it was last year.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I mean, like, even, like...
Oh, no.
Even, like...
We didn't get any of the cool cyberpunk stuff.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
We just got the corporations.
But we didn't get hardly nuked into the Stone Ages.
No, we didn't get that either. Thankfully, we didn't get that one.
And we haven't had the fourth corporate war yet, which which by
And
like
we're-
20.
we're-
Don't worry.
planet is
Don't worry. It'll be
wasteland.
fought between Walmart and Amazon.
Sounds about right.
Oh,
Man.
man. Low prices every day. Here's your bullet. Now go out there and kill the drones.
Yes, our great overlords of Mart Walls.
Yeah, so I mean it's an old system and it felt like an old system, but we had a fun
I
time.
knew what I knew what to expect going into it.
Again, like
Yeah.
old systems can be fine. They can play just fine. Like I'm sure if I wanted to, I could throw together an AD&D adventure and we'd have a good time. You know,
Oh no.
it has its issues.
Thaco, baby.
Let's go.
Again.
We need Umber there for this one.
Thaco's so easy when you understand it.
It's not hard. It's just stupid.
You just have to have a chart. Here's your
Yeah.
chart. All right, now
That's
play
just
your
not
game.
Well,
hard. It's
Like,
just dumb.
even without the chart, just like, well, the chart is really to like tell you what Thaco you have per level, honestly, and after that you're just like, oh, this is what I need, and I can just do some simple math. Great.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty much a roll this to hit. All right, I rolled that. I hit, and that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah. But
it can be stupid.
Not that hard.
uh,
It's hard.
what was the next game? My next game,
What?
I think I
Would be Sunday would be next.
I
didn't,
had a
I
Sunday.
didn't have anything Sunday, so you had Sunday.
I had a Sunday. We are in a kobold cave of hell. In the previous session, we had went through a room with like 30 traps in it. These kobolds are 3-foot tall condensed bastards. And then we made our way through this kobold cave. Found a puzzle. I have an immovable rod and was like, because the puzzle was like, there's like a bridge and there's a waterfall like going over the bridge, so you can't really pass it without potentially falling off. And we looked around for a like way to turn it off, and we're dumb, so we're like, oh, there's this obvious pressure plate, and we're dumb and paranoid from the room of 30 traps, and we're like, we're not touching that. So I pull out an immovable rod, tie a rope to it, and it's like, hey, tie this rope to yourself and like go across under the waterfall. And we did that. We just bypassed the puzzle. Because we're all paranoid. And then we went through a cave, and then we fought a really buff kobold.
How buff were they?
He was a dwarf-sized kobold
Holy
who
crap!
was just jacked.
So he was a medium-sized cobalt from how
A
jacked he was.
medium-sized kobold just for being jacked. Hold on, I
Oh,
have this token. I will post it.
oh, please do. We're gonna fight that on Thursday eventually.
Here it is. He was also called the Swolebulb. Look at how jacked that kobold
He's
is.
so buff.
Pretty damn good bruff.
But I was still taller than him because I'm a 7-foot tall dragonborn, so I called him a tiny man during the fight. He didn't like that.
Oh, well, did you kill him?
Oh, he got melted by a moonbeam.
Oh no.
Like, and then because I'm the only ranged character, every melee character just like surrounded him and just beat him to death. And she was like, "How dare you enter my world? Wait, no, please." He got beat to death and melted with a moonbeam.
This is why when you have boss encounters, your bosses need minions.
Yeah. He was also like sitting on just a plush leather chair he stole from someone as his throne. But he died, and we stole all his shit because he had like a treasure hoard. And I found an evil book that whispered nice things to me. So I read the book because it was just so nice to me.
Oh no!
So now
Did
I'm
you
a
fail a
I'm
thing?
no, I chose this. I'm a warlock now.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Thorlock now.
Oh, goody.
Yep. So we went back to town.
I
I also cut the whole kobold's head off as proof. So I was just carrying around like a really buff kobold head. And then as soon as because there were some kobolds outside of the cave that were on patrol, they came back, saw me with the kobold head, and were like, "All right, we're out. No, bye. We're not doing this." And they fucked off and left.
You didn't transform into an Elder Tor?
Not yet, no.
Well, I'm ready to hear about you only taking 1 or 2 levels.
Oh, I'm only gonna take. I'm planning on only taking enough levels to get back to the tome.
Yeah. Okay. So like 2 levels or whatever it is.
2 levels, and then I'm done with it.
Yeah. That's unfortunately what Warlock is a lot of the time.
I just want my patch of the tome. And
I'm
then
gonna be a Warlock. Oh,
I
really?
want-
How many levels are you taking?
Like
2.
I just want my ritual casting.
Oh.
We got back to town, and now we're headed to the capital. After our paladin gets done being a youth counselor the next day, because they stupidly agreed to do that. Yep.
You have a paladin in your group too?
Yeah, Lynn is playing a paladin.
Oh, is the rest of the party chaotic neutral as
No,
well?
the paladin's like a dumbass.
Oh.
Paladin's
like
like
an immo?
super naive and just like believes in like the good of everyone. So yeah, that was Sunday.
It's a chaotic evil party.
Yeah, we beat up a really buff kobold, and then I found the book.
Good times.
Yep.
So then Monday.
I didn't have Monday. There was talk about doing Monday, but something came up with our DM, so she had to do something with family. Unfortunately got canceled. And then Tuesday, Star Trek got canceled because of some lawyer stuff that Josh needed to do. Then Wednesday. Wednesday.
Oh, that was the end of...
I watched some of it. I only could catch some of it before I got too fever tired.
Some crazy shit happened.
I saw the part with Nathan. I think that's...
Yeah.
Nathan he went down, he had like the cloak that turned into a coat.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that part. And I got too fever tired and was like, I need to go to bed.
Started seeing cloaks when they weren't there.
No. Well, it's like the first part, like they managed to avoid the Kai Institute coming after them. Like, honestly speaking, like I wanted to do more stuff with the Kai Institute, but I kind of also was just like, fuck it. You know, we looked it up. I think it was 3 years, or was it 4 years we've been playing this?
I thought it was 3, but there was also a couple big downtime moments. Because your little timer thing was like episode 88 was your finale, I believe.
Yeah.
There's more than 88 weeks in 3 years, I think.
Yes. There's, in fact, like twice that amount. And that was the joke that we had like half the sessions. That we would have.
Yeah.
We were definitely, without trying to be, we were an every other week game almost.
Yeah.
That's how much we missed. But, so yeah, no, they kind of showed up. I had the hunters distract them. They got into their things. They used the people they had. Before that happened, though, Nathan had a visit from a dozen small girls who are technically...
Was that like the Malkavian leader?
Yeah, when he... currently, Malkov likes to show up in physical form as the form of a dozen small children, often girls. which is just
That's what I
really,
thought, but, like...
really weird, but that is actual vampire lore. Granted,
I feel like none of the players realized that.
I think someone realized that, but like I think Nathan kind of realized that, but that was about it. But none of the other people really realized that. But no one else was there. It was just Nathan and the demon that came along for the ride. So had an interesting conversation. Went down in there.
Such a weird conversation too.
It was supposed to be like, hey, probably shouldn't do this. This is like a really terrible idea. I'm not going to stop you if you do it, but I'm giving you a warning. You can do this. It'll have repercussions. More than you think.
It won't, though. But
it's sort of a thing of like, their resolution, I made a very nice one, but the long-term resolution is sort of like up in the air.
That's fair.
So it's sort of like the end of their story. It's a fine one. What happens because of what they did? Who knows?
We'll find out if you continue this timeline.
I technically will continue the timeline, but not with them, but it also might take place simultaneously. I don't know how
I think it's often good, but can backfire. The only time I think it really backfires is if you would have two groups that would have interacted.
Yeah.
And one game is already over. But I think how you would continue the story, there wouldn't be any overlap because they're on completely different quests.
Because
they would never have
stumbled
across each other.
I am planning for more Advent of Darkness games, basically. For I think 3 or 4 more. It's kind of like what I was planning on. There's going to be at least a werewolf, a changeling, and a mage game. And they will be very different because they're going to be, completely different systems and set in different places to begin with, This was technically based off of LA and it became kind of a global game.
Yeah.
The werewolf one, I still have to work on a little bit. I have some ideas about it. And the same for the changeling one.
Werewolf is weird.
It is.
Werewolf I set up in this one because they got a painting that was supposed to be related to the storyline in Werewolf to one of the characters in this game. So the character Walks on Earth that I introduced probably will show up in the Werewolf game. And the character who walks on Earth, who they never gave the same name. It was like Treads on Ground and like, they always called him something different. I think they did it pretty well every time, too, unintentionally. But, yeah. So they found Jabal, which I decided to not be a red herring that he showed up at the auction. And he was like...
That was a really good tie-in.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, well, there's nothing in this giant chalice. And he's like, yeah, it's just there for decoration. I'm part of an old ritual from, like, when I was alive. I light a fire in it for my birthday, from my tribe. What, you think that was going to be, like, filled with blood or something? Mm-hmm. And like the entire thing that there is something hidden there, and they discovered what it was, and it was a literal legacy of Cain because it was through some dark ritual. Him and Zilla had a child who is not quite ghoul, not quite vampire, not quite alive, not quite dead, and so it's sort of like this is a being that is like really dangerous and shouldn't exist and has been sealed away. Because it turns out to be a lot more dangerous than they thought it would be. It's
That's probably fine.
Oops. We made a mistake, but we love our mistake, so let's just have it sleep for, I don't know, a couple thousand years. And he's like, well, look, you're here. Other people could show up. Why don't you, like, see about if you can prevent, like, an apocalypse with this or not?
Also, a taxi driver was there. Twice.
Neat.
You know how important taxi drivers are.
Yeah, they're very, very important.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, now that's over, and we're stealing the time slot.
Yeah, we are stealing that time slot.
It's our time slot now.
Yeah, you can't have it back.
It's the ocean's time
The ocean's time slot.
It actually is the ocean's time slot now.
That joke will never die.
Oh man, I don't even. I made the joke, and it's just continued, and I love it.
It was such a
well,
great one of like, you know, like we're like, oh here, dispose of this, and he's like, ocean's problem now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, they came from the ocean, whatever.
Oh.
That dwarf is the best ever. He's technically still alive.
That
Oh,
dwarf
He
is
got
like a
killed.
CR. That dwarf is like a level 20 hero now.
I
Yeah.
really hate him. He's not level 20. He's probably level 5 because he's bad.
No, he is like,
He owns a business where you can give him things, they'll dump it in the ocean.
yeah, he has a garbage business. Where he,
That's-
he has
that's-
his own
garbage
ship
business.
That's probably his only skill because he was really bad as an adventurer. I remember he never hit anything. And
Yeah,
Killsteel.
he hit things once.
Yeah, he like hit things once, and Killsteel the elf killed everything else.
That elf just rolled high every time.
I know.
But like, he participated in the big cobalt battle. He
did.
probably killed some kobolds, all right?
Hey,
You just
he threw
didn't
their
see it.
corpses in the ocean.
And then they went in the ocean. I don't know what to do with these dead bodies.
He's like, we could just like leave them there. No, ocean's problem. It's days
Yeah.
till we get to the ocean. It's gonna stink.
But let's load them up in the
Ocean's
carts.
problem.
Ocean. The crabs are gonna feast tonight.
God. So yeah, no, I liked we had kind of a resolution. A taxi driver briefly showed up to be very like, you know, cryptic, and it was totally not Kane. Cough cough.
No.
Uh-huh.
There's no Tiberium here.
There's no Tiberium here. But yeah, we ended Legacies of Kane, and I'm happy it's done. I'm also sad it's done because I mean like, fuck, it's like 3 goddamn years. Oh
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
It was a lot of game. And also not a lot of game.
Yeah. It turned out to be worse than Records of Evil.
Yeah, somehow.
Until we were finishing up there, I did not realize how much worse, like, when it came to both playing and, like, how long it had been. Because I forgot that I started Records in 2018, which was, like, a year after... No, 2019. So it was, like, the next year after it. That's when Records started up, like, a while after there.
Good time.
Good times. Then there was Thursday, which there was 2 games.
Yes, there was 2 games. Momo should start with the
I'll
first
cease
one.
eating my burger to talk about my game.
Yes.
I finally finished my
Start with
pasta
your own game.
while you're talking about your own game.
Yeah. So, you guys took a cart back to town, where you fished out of a river, and then you threw some dead kobolds into it. And you know, you got some nice rewards, some money, which the pirate continues to steal from the druid.
Yep.
That's not a problem. The cop definitely didn't have a problem with that. No. But yeah, we did that. You delivered the missing contents of the cart back to the distillery. Got rewarded for that, and then went to have a nice sleep in the tavern. But you met everyone's favorite himbo there.
Yes.
He was still hunting werewolves.
He's got some friends.
He has some
may or may
friends.
not be witches.
Yeah, he's himbo and his friends, and you guys wanted nothing to do with them.
I mean, I probably would have helped them, but it's like we're kind of doing something right now, and it sounds like it's pretty important for us to be doing it right
Yeah.
now.
Fair enough.
So, like, you know, maybe we can help them later if they're still alive.
That'll probably be fine, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Werewolves are pretty neat.
Well, they got a himbo, so like he has the best ideas.
Yeah,
He's a master strategist.
He is technically. They're awful, but he's a master of awful plans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did go to sleep in the inn, except one of you who decided to sleep in their wagon because you're homeless.
I'm not homeless. I own a wagon. That's a home on wheels. That's better.
You just did a mobile home.
I own my home.
Yeah.
You have a lot of money.
yeah.
Just go to the goddamn inn.
No. There's a reason why I have all this money. Okay.
You're not spending inn prices. Jeez.
Yeah.
But yeah, most of you slept in an inn. One of you slept in a cart and then didn't hear shit.
Yeah, I got a nat 1.
You got a nat 1 and then a 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I
and then
did.
eventually you woke up. As
Only after a
the
shatter.
inn was attacked by some bandits, one of which was a kitsune.
My wife.
Yeah, your
Excuse me.
wife. Your wife.
She never attacked me, and she left as soon as I showed up. All right.
But yeah, a bartender got horribly fucking stabbed.
Which is
And then y'all
strange.
crowded onto the staircase, and then they
Which
attacked
had-
you.
No, there was nothing wrong with that plan, especially
No.
going prone on the stairs.
No, nothing wrong. Someone dove down prone, and then the big boss was like, "All right, I'll just teleport into this space right there," and then slashed some people. And everyone got scared and started running away. And then the big boss got levitated into a ceiling.
Yeah, that happened. And then the mage got paralyzed, which made the concentration failed, and they fell and took max fall damage.
Which
6.
actually, I ruled wrong. You're not supposed to take fall damage. However, it's funny, so I don't care.
Oh, you're not supposed to roll fall
Yeah,
damage?
you're supposed to like levitate down slowly. I guess I've just blocked out that blurb and I was like, all right, she takes fall damage.
That's fine.
But
It was funny
it's an
that way.
inconsequential rule, and it was funny, so I
Yeah.
might just keep it.
It was also a hostilely cast levitate,
It was hostily cast,
so I could see it not being gentle about letting
yeah.
it down.
and then some more people showed up, and then you did something.
I did do something.
You did
Turned
something.
into a were badger.
Yeah, no, you turned into a werebeaver.
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 Because werewolves aren't real, they're werebeavers.
Yeah, with silver scales and wings and a tail and a long neck and horns and some
Look,
big chompers.
All I believe is my gnome believes that werebeavers are the only problem because that's probably what gnomes get instead of werewolves. And that's like
You
he's like,
turned into werebeavers.
yeah.
And I used my beaver breath attack of cold.
Yeah, your cold beaver breath.
cold beaver breath attack. And I chilled
Something-
some people.
Yeah, something I did, which I technically wasn't supposed to do because that you lacked a fear aura, was I had people roll fear saves
Yeah.
to
which was
see if
fun
they
for me.
continued fighting, and most of them failed. Also, most of them were dead at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do anything technically.
You bit a mage.
I mean, what did I do? I came in because I had a dash to get there.
Yeah.
Because I had to equip my shield.
Mhm.
I actually ran in there in just regular clothes because sleeping
Yeah,
armor is
no
dumb,
armor,
and,
yeah.
and you shouldn't do that ever. And your DM is well within the right to punish you for doing it.
Yes.
So I had an action to equip my shield because it's only an action. So I only got my 30 foot of movement for the first. Then I had to dash into the room on my next turn. So as I dash in there, I'm like, "Hey, what's going on in here?" And it's like, "They're trying to kill us." It's like, "Okay," and that's my turn.
Yeah.
And then eventually I had my turn where I bonus action shifted into a big old dragon.
Werebeaver.
Werebeaver.
Yep.
Sorry, excuse me. The
Yeah,
dragons
please
aren't real.
get the terminology. Dragons don't exist.
No, dragons don't exist, just like ghosts.
Just like ghosts.
Yeah.
And werewolves,
And,
they don't exist either.
Werewolves aren't real either.
Yeah, they're just beavers.
And then I went back to bed.
Yeah, then you went back to bed after the boss was like, "I'm not dealing with this." It just left.
Yeah. We woke up in the morning.
Yeah, you,
People attempted to ask what was going on, and I was like,
someone decided that this NPC bartender who got stabbed technically died and then brought back to life, get them some goddamn breakfast.
"Yeah, I'm paying a customer, make me food," which they proceeded to do, and then left.
Yep.
I used the sending scroll. I forgot about that
You
until
did send
after
him.
the game ended. So I was like, "Hey, we found that mage, but she's dead
They're
now."
dead.
Yeah. I don't know if they got a reply back.
I didn't write the reply up yet. I don't
That's fine. You have a week to reply.
think. I do.
Not technically a week, but you have several
I have
days to
several days.
reply.
Then you guys leveled up to level 4.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel all lovely.
Also, I would like to point out the gnome was naked the entire fight.
Oh, that's right. The gnome had bark skin cast on them. So
Yeah,
they were,
the gnome
they
was
were a
naked the entire
tree.
time.
A naked
I
tree
believe
woven
as I was leaving, I was like, I think I said something about should I grab pants? And they're like,
Yeah,
no time.
Yeah. Oh, no time to put on pants. It's like, all right.
Fight naked.
I just ran downstairs because
I at least had a robe on.
Yeah, you had clothing on.
look.
I didn't have armor on, but I had a robe.
I probably like sleep on my back with my like arms in the air, like flicking it just like the
a
Badger. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good time. We murdered a lot of people, and one of them was technically executed, which our bard
mage got fucking
rogue
executed.
was not very happy with, and probably the paladin isn't very happy with it either. To be honest,
Care?
I
mean,
think I didn't really notice what happened, honestly. So I don't know. I think I probably would have not been really like, well, why did you do that? I think I probably wouldn't have been as like affected as our bard rogue was, but still.
yeah, they're pretty not happy about it, and I can't blame them because
Nope.
that's just
That's
actually an evil act.
pretty fucked up, honestly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If they think that they are not evil and they continue to execute people, they cast protection from evil. They're warded from you because you're evil.
Alignment technically exists in 5e.
Yep, it technically does. It's optional and in some tables, but not when it comes to spells.
Nope. Yeah, that was that game.
Yep. Then I had Children of Wrath, in which, let's see
Drugs.
here. There was a possible drug deal that was going to go down, so they met with some Viashino gangsters who were not really friendly with them. Because they're kind of, I wouldn't say racist. They just don't trust any non-Viashino races because of mistreatment in the past.
Also drug crackdown.
Also drug crackdown. So the combination of those two things of like, they're mistrusting from probably past things that might not exist anymore. It's kind of hard to say. And then also there's a drug crackdown on top of that. Plus the fact that they nearly were screwed over by a bunch of like mostly human gangst people who try to like murder them. That probably doesn't put them in good light. So there's a lot of reasons for them not to like the PCs. But they still try to get drugs from them. They decided not to then, as the authorities arrived. Turns out that was a great idea.
I would have enjoyed it more if they actually had drugs and you guys were put in jail.
They were very close to it if they had actually bought what I had said.
Because it's nice that consequences happen when players do dumb things.
Someone used to learn that.
Though apparently the goblins now put his foot down and is like, no, this is not worth it. It's never been worth it. We're done with this. Let's get you some we're getting you some goddamn chamomile tea. I think he went and got tea then. He specifically I'm gonna go buy some tea. But he's gonna like have her calm down with tea. God damn it. I'm like, yes. This seems to be a great thing that maybe you avoided the consequences this time. But it turns out the other characters are good enough to learn and basically be able to put their feet down. Yeah, the goblin's smart enough to learn from these mistakes, unlike a carry. Anyway, then they took a sail to Yavimaya. Managed to get in, fortunately. Much to the non-help of Claude, who tried to drown as a merfolk.
Yeah, because, you can't swim in a storm.
And this wasn't even a storm, it was just like, the rocky cliff faces with really terrible waves and tides that, like, dash things onto the rocks.
I'm surprised that they didn't take damage. You were being generous.
I was being generous.
A kind and benevolent god.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I'd be like, alright, 2d6 slashing damage.
Oh yeah, me too.
You failed this check. You take damage.
It wasn't important enough at that point in time, so it's just like, it was more of it, just like, I'll just pass over it for now. And just be like, hey, the penalty I gave him is like, hey, yeah, you can't get anywhere near the surface. The waves are too bad up there. You're forced down below where the waves aren't as bad, at the lower into the water. You can't see shit. Congratulations. You know.
You won.
So rather than taking
What
damage,
blindness.
yeah, there's some water, some bottom of the ground, and some water. Mm-hmm. Then the group made it into Yavimaya and began exploring it, heading towards the direction they needed to, dealing with a horrible swarm of giant, dog-sized ants that are technically...
Yeah, they ate Jimmy last time I was there.
Yeah, dog-sized army ants, think of it as. Yeah, pretty nasty.
Tore them right to shreds.
And then also a giant kavu and that was prowling about, that fortunately you decided, we're going to make our, place that we're going to rest, high up in the trees. Because there's really big...
He rolled pretty bad on that check.
It didn't have a roof.
It was just a platform up there. Yeah. The check for building it, I'm like, it's enough to build something up there, but it's just like a platform. I could have had it start raining if I was really mean.
Oh, if it started raining, I can just make it so it doesn't rain 20 feet around me.
Yeah.
It's a weird ability for a sorcerer. But Storm Sorcery gets it.
And no one questions your weird sorcery abilities.
No one questioned the wind thing either.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's useful.
It's like, hey, that's nice.
Yeah, all humans can do this, you know?
Yeah, it's just totally normal.
It's just a human thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of where they left off, having a nice rest after finishing up in New Argive and finally getting to Yavimaya. And so they got to go talk to some druids, who are then going to hopefully help them talk to a spirit dude, who I actually have to look up why they need to talk to the spirit dude. I keep forgetting to.
I'm gonna make a prediction that a certain person is going to ask me to get some drugs from the druid.
Possibly. We'll see if a goblin and a changeling stop you at that point in time. We'll see how that goes. There is the possibility of it.
And I think the Friday game that we were in is officially over now.
Yeah, it died.
Yeah, no ending.
Nope. We lost too many players and my scheduling got fucked.
Yeah, there might be a possibility of my character plane walking and just being in a different campaign.
You have an amulet of planes. I'll be honest.
I do actually. That's true.
Yeah, you have an amulet of planes. Chaz can just go wherever.
I forgot I actually have that.
Yeah. You can just go to fucking Sudan with basically the equivalent of almost a modern day gun.
I do have a modern day gun almost. I just have to learn how to
craft
craft
a World War
bullets.
I era gun.
I'd say it's pre-World War I.
It's probably 1890s.
Yeah,
level.
it's post-musket era.
Yes, because
but
that's their
not
tech
machine
level.
gun.
That is their tech level, because they're not a magic heavy force.
Yeah. Unlike mine, where there's magic weapons.
Yeah.
So why would they develop gunpowder?
This place needs more advanced weapons.
Yeah, because it's horribly cursed.
It's fucking awful there.
Yeah. So unfortunately that game ended.
It's basically Innistrad.
Yeah,
that game died, which is sad.
It unfortunately sometimes happens. It's like our loss of poor carrying crown that was already spiraling down a tube of shit. Anyway.
I kind of got carrying crown, but less in a bad way. Just more in a way of I don't have the players to do this.
Yeah. I think that was it for our games for this week.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's about it then.
Unless there's any questions in the chat.
There rarely is. Most people that show up
ask them on YouTube.
Probably. Yeah. Most people that show up are tending to be Blaze or Josh or, a few others that just kind of show up, say a few things, if they say anything, and then just
There's a question
watch.
there for you. There you go.
Oh yeah, where can we find more great D&D 5e content?
Yeah, there you go.
Alright, so, I guess I'll give my little outro speech here for what's going on. This week, off, but the next week after that, I have on my schedule, unless barring something coming up, because I want to have all the players
like
there.
a sudden hurricane.
Yeah, like a sudden hurricane. 8 p.m. EST on Wednesday. That should be the... Oh, God.
First edition Pathfinder?
21st?
That would be...
Oh, a day. I
Yeah.
don't know what day it would be.
22nd.
22nd.
22nd, yeah.
Yeah, 22nd. The 22nd, that should be the first session of my new Pathfinder First Edition Pirate campaign. I'm still mulling over what to exactly give it as a name, because I'm not going to call it Skulls and Shackles, because that's adventure.
Shackles and Skulls.
There you go.
That's why I'm like, it's based on that.
Title it The Ocean's Problem.
We're the ocean's problem.
That could be just an episode title one time, like the ocean's it's the ocean's problem. No.
Oh no! Is it when the ocean turns blood red? And we have to figure out what's the problem with the ocean?
That's our ship name.
The ocean's problem. Oh, it's a good ship name.
But yeah. So yeah, expect that to be coming up soon. Thursdays 9 p.m. is Children of Wrath. That should be back next week. Of course, this show back next week, 2 p.m. Saturdays, hopefully joined by some folks, maybe these folks, maybe other folks, we'll find out, kind of play it by schedule as that goes. And expect me to do some form of streaming this week at some point in time. I don't know if I'm going to have an exact schedule for this week, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to build a general schedule of a few gaming streams at least, so I don't do too much, but I balance out having some relatively daily content. I think I might be pretty, when I get my schedule down and I start really sitting down, I might do something relatively daily just until I would get some more D&D role-playing content, and depending on those I might cancel out things and stuff like that, move the schedule around. So expect me to kind of come up with that this week. I had plans for a couple of days this week that just kind of fell through the cracks when I had time, unfortunately.
Craps tables.
Yeah.
That too.
Don't gamble, kids.
Dude, that's not your mother.
We're not going to stop you, but we'll advise you that the odds are against you.
I won't be upset. I'll just be disappointed.
Exactly.
Oh, that's worse.
Oof. But other than that, yeah. If you want to see about that, I will announce things Twitter, on my Discord, when I actually do stuff. I'll try to throw things out ahead of time with a schedule when I know it. If it just ends up being impromptu, hey, I've got time, I'm going to stream, those might show up too. But thanks Lightning, thanks Momo for joining me. Either of you have anything to shout out today?
Not really.
I don't stream anymore. Otherwise, I'd be like, hey, stuff and things.
Mm-hmm.
I occasionally stream, but I may have COVID, so I feel like garbage. So I'm not doing that this week, because I want to preserve my little physical health I have left.
You need to stream Bloodborne and you feel better.
Oh, I needed a capture card to do that.
Oh, no, that's right. Bloodborne is the stupid console.
PS4 game only.
How dare it?
I know.
I just stream Skyrim instead.
Just stream, yeah, I'll just stream Skyrim.
Just mod Skyrim to become Bloodborne and then stream it.
Honestly, the Skyrim's been enough around that there could be the Skyrim Bloodborne mod.
Hey, it's got fishing now. It's a different game.
Oh yeah, you gotta buy that new version of Skyrim for that fishing.
It's got fishing mods. It's fishing game now. It's Stardew Valley.
Oh hell yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, I honestly, if there was a mod to make Skyrim Stardew Valley, I'd probably try it.
I think you can farm in Skyrim.
I mean, not that I know of.
I guess you just be like fighting a dragon together. What gift shall you give me this day to increase my like of you?
You're in the middle of fighting a dragon, but the sun goes down, so you just pass out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you pass out when it gets too late, and then you wake up and it's a guard and it's like, oh, I found you out in the field. I took some of your money as compensation. We gotta make sure you're safe in the future.
I had to fight off that dragon, which totally I couldn't have fought, but somehow I fought off.
It just gave up and left. I think it fell asleep.
Oh, God.
Anyway, thanks
Anyway,
for watching.
yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. Have a great rest of your Saturday, weekend, etc. Again, like, I'll probably at least try get a stream in tomorrow at some point. I don't know when. Other than that, I don't know. If I find time today, great. If I don't, whatever. I'm just trying to build that schedule back up and get some gaming things in here and there too, with and get some more RPGs up on the schedule. After the new Pathfinder game starts, I'll probably start working on the next one after that. Try to get at least 3 games on stream again. So, anyway. Bye for now, everybody. Farewell.
Bye.